Hey guys, and welcome to the Surge Growth Partner Podcast, a podcast where we interview top-level executives inside leading and growing companies in the IT and cybersecurity space. Excited to have our guest today, Gene Mobley. We'll be diving into his story, what his company Expert Tech specializes in, and some engaging insights into the IT industry. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Gene. If you could just introduce yourself, tell a quick little snippet of your story and your background prior to working at Expert Tech.
Yeah, first off, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. Excited to be here today. Again, my name is Gene Mobley, and I've been in the MSP space for going on 13 years now. I have worked for small MSPs, large MSPs, MSPs of all sizes and shapes, and all over the country, as I like to say. And throughout that time, I've worked with clients of all sizes, shapes, in all different industries. So whether it be two people that are trying to run a construction business, or large organizations that are doing $6 billion worth a year in business. I've worked in all aspects of the MSP space, and happy to have my home here at Expert Tech now, and excited about what we have going on there in the future.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I know you do have quite the extensive background. I know we were talking about it beforehand, but I'm kind of curious as, if we were to rewind the clock, and go back to, Gene Mobley when he was growing up, what was it that kind of, sparked that initial interest and passion to go ahead and pursue a career in the IT industry? And then maybe even piggybacking off of that, what was it about sales and marketing that really kind of stood out to you to kind of pursue that as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the interesting thing is the technology piece of it to me was never really a driver. Ever since I was very young, I've had a passion for working with people and communicating with people. It's just been something that's come very naturally to me. And that's really how I got into the industry. A friend of mine was an owner in a small managed service provider in Maryland, and they had grown to the point where he could no longer effectively, manage the internal clients that they had, as well as run the company, as well as try to worry about new business. So realistically, I was brought in originally as an account manager, and my original role was really to just help manage the current accounts that we have. We had changed our model. Anybody who's been in the MSP space for any number of years knows we went from hourly to block hours to retainer type of business to what most of us work off now, which is the fixed fee model. So originally my mandate was to come in, get to know the clients, help serve them better, and move them to new managed services fixed fee contracts. So really for me, it all started with with people, right? And the business, I want to say when I first started, was relatively secondary. But what I learned really quickly was that if I was going to effectively help my clients and our partners that we worked with, I was going to have to learn technology. So I dove into it head first. And as I tell people all the time, I know enough to be dangerous. So they don't let me on any of the back end types of things. I have to stay in my own little world so I don't break anything. But it's also given me the ability to really break it down and take technology from what can seem like a foreign language to a lot of people and really break it down to the brass tacks of how they operate their business on a daily basis. So again, for me, it was more about the people side of it, and the technology just kind of fell into place. Now that I've been in it for 13 years, now I'm a bit of a junkie. I love it. Something new's coming out. I want to pull that out, play with that. What's up with new Windows 11? What does it do? What do I like? What I don't like? So really, again, it started with people and moved into the technology industry, which now today is just something that I love and enjoy, and really can't imagine being in any other industry at this point in my career.
That's awesome. And I think I have a very similar story, kind of how I got into the IT industry or the cybersecurity industry, both of them. I kind of was just fascinated always kind of by people and, wanting to talk to people and being I grew up in like a restaurant. So my family was always, making me talk to people, this and that. So it's kind of something that always came naturally. But the technology side of it was the backside where I kind of then, began to learn about it. Like, hey, this stuff's pretty cool too. But I think at the core of it, I'll always I love to talk to people. I'm a people person just naturally, right?
Yeah.
I am curious though, man, you've obviously, been in the industry for a while now. You've seen probably the evolution of IT and kind of how it's evolved over these years. What would you say are some of the impactful trends that are on the horizon? And then the second kind of question to that would be, how do you think those trends are going to impact, sales and marketing within businesses?
It's a great question. And like you say, it's two parts, but they really are intertwined. The biggest trends that I see coming and moving forward, I mean, obviously the cloud adoption is something that's been out there for years. If you're not in the cloud infrastructure in some level right now, or at least in the hybrid infrastructure, you're kind of going to be left behind here relatively shortly. So I don't see that going away. But within that, right, is what does cloud mean? There's so many words out there. There's so many buzz. The IBM cloud. What is the IBM cloud? Amazon Web Services, Azure. What are all these different things? That's never going to go away because, finding the right fit for somebody in the cloud infrastructure in regards to what they need is paramount to helping their business be successful. So that's obviously going to be there and going to continue to be a trend. Cybersecurity, obviously not going away. The more we do online, the more we use the internet for all of its great tools, the more AI is integrated into things, the more we can be at risk as business owners and as individuals. So cybersecurity is a huge thing. I think the biggest thing moving forward is really going to be in the compliance world. Are you compliant based upon the mandates that your organization or your governing body has in place? And it's not just about having to do it anymore so that you can get the business. It also becomes the more compliant you are with different standards that are out there, whether they be CMMC, whether they be NIST, CIS, all these different acronyms that we can put out there, GDPR, all these types of things. By being compliant with those, you're going to give yourself a leg up on the competition, right? Because you're going to be able to say, hey, I'm in a place where I'm already at this level of standard from a cybersecurity perspective, which means when you work with me, you can be safe and secure and know that your clients are safe and secure. So as that compliance becomes more important, not just to make sure that we can get the jobs, also so that we can go find new jobs, because we can say, hey, this is a feather in our cap. We do A, B, and C. We meet this certification. So with those three things being paramount, right, how do we take that to a sales and marketing base? We have, and we're at a place in our world where, everybody can be a expert on just about everything, with the internet. But sometimes that can cause paralysis, by overanalysis. So that is another big thing that when we're looking to market this and to sell this, yes, we want to talk about compliance, but more importantly, how does that work to the individual customer and individual end user? So I think from a sales and marketing perspective, we're going to have to get we're going to have to look for new ways, right, to personalize this, to help us when we reach out to prospective clients to make it make sense to them for their individual business. A perfect example, a doctor's office and HIPAA compliances that they may have are going to be way different than, let's say, a manufacturing organization, right? And some compliances that they can hit that are a totally different standard than HIPAA. But if they do A, B, and C, and they can get to, say, a level 2 on a CMMC or certain levels of that, they're going to have an opportunity to go out there and get all new types of business. So from a sales and marketing perspective, we're going to have to really kind of reinvent the wheel, in my opinion, of how we personalize this to our prospects that we're going after. Whether that be from email campaigns, cold campaigns, whether it be from your website, SEO, all those types of things are really, in my opinion, going to have to become much more, niche towards the industry. And I think that the more that we can do that, the more effective we're going to be moving forward, because everybody has different things that they need to hit from a cloud perspective, cybersecurity, and compliance. And it's so different industry to industry.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how you kind of package that on it. It's such a great point to kind of, highlight how whoever you're talking to, they're going to be dealing with something different. I know we talked about this as well. Like everyone, who a certain job title in the same company is going to have different problems, right? And so being able to kind of, tailor your message and your marketing towards those people, I think is super powerful. And it's a great point that you bring up. I did want to take this moment now to kind of transition a little bit into your company, Expert Text, because I wanted you to tell the audience a little bit more about what you guys are doing over there and what your kind of primary service offering is at Expert Text.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. So Expert Text, brief overview of the company, and I'll kind of get into what we consider to be our 3 pillars of business. Expert Text has been around since 2001. We currently have around 40 employees based out of New York City. We are still owned and will continue to be for the foreseeable future by the same 4 partners that started the company. We are not interested in being acquired by private equity. We believe in our mission and our purpose to help our clients and to serve them in the best way possible. And we believe the best way to do that is by keeping our core team of leadership in place. That is a huge differentiator for us in the MSP world right now. As those of you that are in the field know, the private equity plays and things of that nature are happening all the time. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. Who am I to judge that? I'm saying for us personally, we believe the best way for us to continue to provide the high level of service that we have is to keep us, as an independent organization. So that's one really cool thing about us. Another differentiator about us is we are a true Mac shop. We are an Apple authorized reseller. We are also an Apple authorized service department. So we can actually perform warranties on your Macs the same way the Apple Store can. So we are one of the few companies in the United States that still have that designation. We have that because in the early days, we started doing nothing but Macs. So when you come to work with us, it's not like we have the one person that might know a little bit about Apple or things of that nature. We actually have dedicated technicians that understand everything that goes into that environment. And on the more positive side, how that integrates into, most business environments where a lot of times there's hybrids where you have Macs and you have Windows in that environment. So that's another really cool thing about us that kind of sets us apart. As far as what we do, like I said, we have three pillars. One is our cloud first strategy. Again, everybody needs to be moving to the cloud, utilizing the tools that are up there. And I think there's a little bit of a misconception about the cloud that's going to cost me more money. Well, the reality is in today's world, it doesn't have to, because we can utilize it in so many different ways, where it doesn't have to look like an old school infrastructure when you had to have a server in the house. And, the idea is, oh, well, now we got to move that to the cloud and pay for all that consumption. The reality is in a lot of situations you don't. It can really just depend on what your needs are as a business and how we can build that out. The second piece is our managed services practice. So that is our IT support. That is core to who we are. It's what we've done from day one. It's what we'll continue to do for as long as we're around. That involves the monitoring of machines, making sure that you can have asset and inventory reporting done to the machines, the patching of those machines, all kind of the general managed services work that anybody in the industry has come to know. Our differentiator in that, we really are a team. Teamwork to us is not just a word that's said. We have an all hands meeting every morning to start the day and every afternoon to end the day. And on those meetings, we truly talk about what happened in the day, what issues we ran into. If there's a problem that one of my engineers couldn't figure out or just didn't know where to go next, we talk about it as a group. And so that teamwork aspect and the fact that we do the end of the day meetings and the beginning of the day meetings, they're extremely important to us just as a company culture, because just like everybody else, we're spread out. You know what I mean? We have people all over the place now. So by doing those things, it really helps us. And then the last pillar that we have is our cybersecurity and compliance, right? So cybersecurity and compliance run one and the same. You can't have compliance without cybersecurity. So we are one of the few managed service providers in the country that I'm aware of that if you come work with us and you get managed services, you're also going to get cybersecurity services without a question. We will not sell managed services without cybersecurity services. Our managed services include a full XDR, a full SOC as a service. If you don't know what those words mean, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to have a conversation about it, but those in the industry will. We do not work with any clients that don't have that, because in our opinion, it's not optional anymore. You have to be protected. You have to be secured. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the big picture of what we do. Outside of that, we can do project work for clients that may just need things here and there. We can do procurement. We are certified minority-owned business, certified MBE. So we can do work in that realm as well, whether it simply be procurement projects. There's really not anything that we can't do. We do try to stay in our lane, which is managed services, cloud service, and cybersecurity and compliance. So outside of that, if you call us and you want us to do cabling and things like that, not really in our wheelhouse, we're going to say no to that business. That's kind of a gist of who we are and what we do as an organization.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's awesome. You guys definitely have a comprehensive suite of products, which is, something that is needed to really, be able to provide those services to your clients. And like you said, even with the cybersecurity aspect, I'm surprised to hear that, you guys, you have a SOC. You do implement all those measures as well on top of the managed services. I don't think I've met an MSP that's really doing that at that level yet. At least haven't talked to one yet. So that's really cool and unique that you guys are doing that. I am kind of curious. You did touch on a lot of different aspects of where clients get a lot of value from working with you. Was there anything that you wanted to add where you think, when the client comes and works with Expertex, that they get the most value from, besides everything, you just said a lot, but if there's anything else that you wanted to maybe touch on?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing us back to this, because I think that, when you look at our industry as a whole and you look at managed service providers and now managed security service providers, MSSPs and MSPs, tool sets are very similar, right? We're all rolling out some type of PSA tool, some type of monitoring tool, some type of ticketing tool. We're all using some type of security software, whatever it may be. Again, some offerings more robust than others. So when it really comes down to it, what's the difference? In my opinion, the difference is you have companies that are focused on technologies. You have MSPs and MSSPs that are focused on technology, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then you have a company like ours. We're not focused on technology. We're focusing on our clients meet their business goals, right? The technology is a byproduct of that. So when you come on board as a client with us, even through our discovery process, I'm going to be asking you questions such as, what are your 3-year or 5-year business goals? What are you looking to do? Is this a company you want to pass down to your son? Are you looking to be bought? Are you looking to buy more? Are you looking to sell? What are your goals for the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years down the road as an organization? Not technology, as an organization, right? Because our role and the way we look at it is, our job is to help you meet your business goals by utilizing technology. So when you take an approach first, which is what we do of how do we help you meet your business goals, and then we roll technology into that, we find that it becomes a driver for our clients to help meet their business goals, whatever that may be. For some clients, that may be, hey, we just want to smooth, steady, don't want to do anything crazy. For some people, maybe, hey, we're going to expand, we're going to open 5 more offices in the next 2 years. Okay, great. Before we go and sell you this, let's make sure that it can account for these extra 5 offices, right? And these extra 40 employees that are going to be out there. So I think that's probably the biggest differentiator from our perspective is, do we have the technology? We know the technology? Yes, of course we do. But between myself and our executive team that all of our clients get access to and work with, we're going to be focusing more and more on your business goals and where you want to get to as an organization, as a company, and then how we can utilize technology to help you get there. So I think that is probably the biggest differentiator that you'll see between us and anybody else. And again, it starts right at the discovery process. 5-10 minutes into the call, I'm already asking those types of questions. And sometimes it takes people off guard, right? Because they're here to talk about, what we use as an antivirus or what we use as this or that. But to me, all those things are secondary, right? Let's start with how we can help you meet your business goals. Let's put the technology behind it. Sometimes the way I can use this, it's like the boosters on the rocket, right? Sometimes you need that technology to push you, to get you into that next atmosphere, to get you to that next level where you want to go, right? Technology shouldn't just be to keep you status quo. It should be to help you grow your business.
Definitely. And I think that's such a great point. And I love when I hear IT companies and cybersecurity companies talk about what are your goals as a business, right? What are you guys trying to do? Because, at the end of the day, obviously you guys are providing IT. It's maybe not interlinked with everything that they do, but, having a partner who you can kind of trust that is in the best interest of your company, trying to grow it with you guys and trying to make sure that they can, put the right infrastructure in place for when you need to grow. It's paramount. It's needed in a partner, right? And it's what separates you from just being a service provider to actually being a partner, right, in their business. And I think that's a super important point to kind of touch on, because you like you said, you are surprising them with those questions, but it's something that is needed. And I wish more people kind of took that holistic and comprehensive view of the business as well. So hats off to you guys. Sounds like you guys are definitely doing something unique, and you guys got something building. You're building something very special over there. So I did wanted to now dive into a little bit about your role right now in your company, and you being the VP of sales. I'm curious and I'm sure the audience is maybe curious too, some of the challenges that kind of come with being the salesperson in the company, the VP of sales, and if you wanted to maybe just touch on that.
Yeah, happy to touch on it. So first off, as the VP of sales here, I have a huge staff that I manage. It's massive. It's a staff of a guy named Gene Mobley, which is me. So I am currently the only salesperson. So that in itself can be a little bit of a challenge. I was brought in here to really help this company, Expert Tech's take it to the next level. Really, they've been successful. This was one of those where it's like, it was kind of a match made in heaven when I met up with them. They aligned with my goals and what I thought an MSP should be, and I aligned with theirs. So it was really kind of a match made in heaven from the beginning. For me, the challenges I face are very similar to challenges everybody else faces in this industry, right? Our numbers are our numbers. And, I can be the best person in the world and I can, show more activity in my CRM than anybody else out there. But if I don't close business, I'm worthless, right? To an extent. So, that is always the biggest challenge. But as any good salesperson will tell you, it's not about the closing, it's about the pipeline. Right. So for me, as I started here, the challenge has been, all right, what am I putting into my pipeline and what type of business do we want to go after? Right. Because I think that's extremely important too. Can I work with a landscaping company? Sure. Can I work with a doctor's office? Sure. Can I work with a government contractor? Sure. Can we do it all? Yes. Do I want to market to all that? Or do I want to market to the things that I know we're good at? Right. So from my perspective, as I got in here, some of the challenges I've faced is just trying to, get us in our swim lanes. Right. Where do we want to swim? Doesn't mean we can't swim over here and we can't swim over here. But if we had our perfect world, we'd like to be in these 3 middle lanes, right? Or these 5 middle lanes, or whatever it may be. So that's been the first thing, is really defining that. And then another challenge for me that other people may not have this. But for me, I've developed a large network of people in the technology space, not necessarily in the managed services space, but in technology over the years. So, when I started here at Expert Tech, I had the challenge of learning everything that Expert Tech does from a technology back-end side. Because when I talk to these people, they're going to ask me those questions, right? So my initial challenge was just learning. Expert Techs over here, we do a lot of really cool things, and there's really not anything that we don't have that we can't help you fix from a technology or a cybersecurity standpoint. But to do that, there's a lot of things I have to learn about it. what are operating procedures? How do we work it? What is it? What does it do? All these types of things. So once I moved from that challenge, it really went over to reaching back out to my group of peers, as I like to call them, to say, hey, listen, this is where I'm at and this is what I'm doing. For me personally, that's extremely important. Those group of people, they may only throw me a lead once every 3 years because it's not something that's, we're not necessarily in a relationship like that. But they know me, they know who I am, and they know where I am, and they know what Expert Text is doing. So when they get that phone call and someone's asking about something that they can't handle, I want them to know who I am and think about me. So that's been the next piece of the challenge, is really putting that out there from a personal perspective, but not only that, from a company-wide perspective as well, right? Who are we? What are we doing now? What makes us different now than what we were a year ago, right? What makes us different now than what everybody else is? So, the challenges for me is really, again, I don't want to make it like it's some big secret, because it's not. It's how do I get out there, what makes us different than everybody else? At the end of the day, that's really what it boils down to. And that's the consistent challenge that I'm sure all of us face, that are trying to sell any type of business to business services, but especially in the technology space, because, there's millions of MSPs out there, that's for sure. And not all of them are made the same.
Definitely. Yeah. I think you touched on a lot of very common challenges that I've been seeing, and, talking with different MSP sales leaders, or, just MSP CEOs, founders. And what I've seen kind of I think me and you even talked a little bit about this off camera, was, MSP founders and CEOs are usually really tech based, right? And so they maybe not understand, at least the ones that I've come across, they don't really understand all the sales and marketing aspects of it. So it does also take, a certain person to kind of come in there and be able to explain to them everything that they need, and explain the importance of things. And so I'm sure that's probably a challenge, from everyone's end, that's kind of working, that comes from a sales and marketing background, right? And trying to explain these things. And it's almost like cybersecurity or like IT, when you think about it in general. How do I explain a really complex topic and make it really simple for people to digest and understand why they need something, right? And so it's the same thing with sales and marketing. If you really dive into it, you dive into the depths of it, it's pretty complex, right? Every little aspect, component of it. And if you go on and just try to talk about this and this and this and this, it's not going to make sense to a lot of people. So I think you did a great job on kind of illustrating those challenges. But I'm kind of curious as to maybe some advice that you would give to other sales professionals that are in the industry, that what you've kind of found really helpful in kind of building that pipeline, or making connections, or partnering with different businesses. What was it that you've maybe had the most success with?
Yeah. So to answer that question, I really want to focus on the sales aspect of it, and honestly, the meetings aspect of the sales, right? So the discovery call, the initial call, the proposal meeting, the close, those types of things. If I give anybody one piece of advice, it would be, don't say yes to everything, and be willing to say no, right? And to me, those go hand in hand.
Yeah.
If you're coming in and telling everybody that you can be all things to all people, people are going to see right through it. And whether or not that's true or not, people don't believe it. Like I said, it's paralysis by analysis at this point, right? So if we walk in there as a salesperson for an MSP or for an MSSP, and we start talking about the fact that we can fix every problem they have, and we got this handled, and there's going to be no problems, there's going to be no anything else. First off, that's not realistic. And if you've been in this industry for any period of time, there's bumps in the road. That's the reality of it. So the biggest advice I can give to people is, don't sugarcoat things, be real, and if it's not a good fit, be willing to walk away. There's nothing worse than signing a customer that's not going to be a good fit for your organization. Not only is it going to cause stress for everybody in the organization, it's going to cause stress for you. And at the end of the day, you got to remember, we're backed by a team of engineers, right? And for us to be successful as a company, they need to be on board with what we're doing. And if we're bringing in bad clients that have, 8-year-old hardware in the closet that they don't want to replace until it dies, yeah, I've been in that scenario. I've been on that call, and I have politely walked away from that type of business, because that's not the business that's going to make us successful. And sure, could I make a couple $1,000s a month on that deal? Could we grab it for $5K in MRR? Sure, I could have. But for what? They're not going to do what we tell them to do. They already acknowledge that, right? So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice is, don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be afraid to say no. It's okay to do that. Find the right clients that you want to work with. As anybody in sales will tell you, easy to say that when you got a lot of business, not so easy when you don't. And I get it. However, I can tell you from personal experience, I've had people that have called me back 3 years, 4 years, 7 years after I initially talked to them. They're with a new company. They remembered me, they found me, and they called me, and then they end up working with me. Why? Because I didn't put them in a bad situation. I wasn't afraid to say no. So that would be my biggest piece of advice to people is, know what you do it well, and if it's not a good fit, be willing to walk away.
Yeah, man, that's such great advice, and I don't think a lot of people touch on that. And it's something that I had to learn early on in my sales career, right? Like you said, it's a lot easier to say no to business when you have a lot of business, right? But
Yeah.
when you're in the beginning stages and you're trying to get things going and you're trying to get business on the board, you're willing to kind of just take anything. But then you start to realize that your business is really, especially service based B2B businesses, it's based upon your clients, it's based upon your partners, right?
Yep.
So if you don't choose the proper partners and clients, you're not only setting your sure, you can get that short term monetary income, right? But you're setting
Mhm.
yourself up for disaster in the future, right? And I think one of the most important advice that my mentor gave to me was to make sure that you pick the right partners, pick the right clients, because it's going to come back to you, right? Because then you're not maybe going to be able to deliver the best results for them, or they're not going to be 100% happy with your service, and then you have to deal with that fire. And then a nightmare client, everyone knows a nightmare client takes away a lot more from your business than it gives you. So that's great advice, and I hope people really take that to heart, because also, and I'm curious to get your take on this. I think it's important to kind of have that allure where it's like you are willing to walk away, right?
Yes.
Like you don't need the business, right? And I think that gives, it makes the prospect, because to be fair, prospects are so used to salespeople just chasing them, chasing them, chasing them, chasing them, chasing them, chasing them, right? And obviously you have to do that to an extent, right? But also to kind of have that, that almost like the ace, right? Where it's like, hey, like if this doesn't make sense for you, that's completely fine, right? And giving that and putting that back onto them, it kind of makes them understand, like, oh, this guy's not just trying to get the money from me, right? And he's actually cares about if it makes sense for me. And obviously, we're all driven by money at the end of the day, but we're not going to push something onto a service that doesn't make sense for a person.
That,
So
that was that was the one piece I was going to add to it that would make the salespeople happy to hear, which is when you tell someone you don't want to do business with them, it's amazing how quick they want to ask you why,
yeah,
right? So by being willing to walk away, you will get them to open up and understand more maybe what their problems are. Back to that example, and again, this particular story that didn't end that way. We walked away and that was fine. But I've been in situations where I've had people tell me we're not going to do A, B, and C because we don't want to spend that money. And my comment was, well, maybe we're not going to be a good fit to work together. Well, what do you mean? That gives me the opportunity to help educate them, right? Which by educating them, I'm creating trust. People buy from people they trust, not people they like, right? So
yeah,
sometimes to gain that trust, you have to be willing to say no. You have to be willing to push back. The good news
yeah,
is nobody likes to hear I don't want to be with you, right? Whether it's
yeah,
a person, nobody wants to have a friend say I don't want to hang out with you anymore. They're like, what did I do? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Everybody wants to know questions. It's the
yeah,
same thing with prospects. Again, if it's not a good fit, then walk. But by asking those questions and by being willing to do it, to your point, it does separate you, it does set you apart, and it gives you an opportunity to educate. And to me, that as salespeople in today's world, if we're not educating, we're not going to be successful, period. Like we have to be able to prove our worth beyond just somebody that takes a signature because they can Google all day long. So
definitely, definitely, yeah, and it definitely sets you apart, and it makes you more desirable in the end result as well. And you almost create that type of urgency and scarcity in,
mm-hmm.
in itself when you do that. And so I think that
Yeah.
that's a very important point. I did want to ask you a couple more questions. One of the questions was kind of, in terms of your vision for the next 12 months. I don't like to do like 5, 10 year plans because I feel like they're kind of just not really realistic, right? Or in terms of what you can really see. But what in the next 12 months are you guys really pushing towards for expert techs? And maybe what are you pushing for in your role and trying to, really gain right now, if that makes sense?
No, it's a great question. I think from an expert text perspective, from business wise, we're starting with our current clients as we always do, right? So we want to make sure all of our current clients, understand where they sit from a compliance perspective, understand their goals and where they want to go. And if there's certain things that we need to do to help them get them there, whether that be from increasing cybersecurity, again, most of you in the industry know, but anybody who's not in the industry doesn't understand. Cybersecurity is not just about tools. It's about processes. It's about procedures. It's about, do you have an incident response plan? And that is literally a plan written out, typed out. If this happens, we call Jill. If this happens, we call Joe. If Joe and Jill aren't available, we call Steve, whatever that may be. So that's a big goal for us in 2024 is just to make sure that all of our clients, our current clients, understand their risk posture, understand where they are, and make sure that they have all the tools they need to make sure their business can hit their goals. So that's the initial start for us is always going to start with our current clients. from my perspective, as the growth of the organization from a new business and new logo acquisition, we want to move a little bit more upstream. We would like to move into some more co-managed environments. Maybe working with organizations that have some type of internal IT staff, if they need us to supplement on certain areas, more than happy to do that. That I would say would probably be my biggest goal, is to try to move a little bit more upstream. Our SMB business is always going to be there, and it's always going to be a rock of who we are. But I think, some of the beauties of working in co-managed environments is we as an organization, and my engineers as well, they get to learn other things also, right? Because now they're working with somebody else that, and again, not to get onto the hardware versus, hardware things, but, let's say, they've got Juniper in an environment. Maybe we haven't worked with much Juniper, right? So we get to learn those types of things from somebody that has some knowledge on it, because we're not on the networking side for these guys. They just need us to help on the end user side, right? So I think the more that we can go into some more co-managed environments, a little bit more upstream, is only going to help us as an organization and give us more options to bring things into us. So I would say, again, the main goal for me is to grow the business, right? I have my goals, I have my numbers, and I know what we want to do here over the next year. But I think for me, my focus is to move a little bit more upstream, and like I said, try to move into some more co-managed environments. So I think that's a piece where I feel like the industry kind of lacking. I don't know many MSPs that do it well, and I believe that we will, because we're already in some environments now where we're thriving. So that's kind of my goal, and like I say, from a business goal, just making sure our current clients understand where they are in a risk posture in the 2023 and 2024 moving forward, because your risk posture in 2021 has nothing to do with where you are right now. And it won't have anything to do with where you are in November next year. And if it does, and you're looking at all those the same, call somebody else. You're not doing it right, because things have changed in 6 months to a year. That's for sure.
Yeah. Make sure you got a different person auditing you, right?
Right. That third-party audit is crucial. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's amazing, man. I'm definitely excited to see what you guys build over there. I know you guys already got something special going on, and I'm confident that you'll be able to smash it. You definitely have a great experience and expertise inside the industry. I am curious to kind of get one more question from you, and have you drop another hidden gem that you've been dropping throughout these. But what do you think? This is a loaded question, so be prepared. What do you think are some of the most important things that you've learned in your career that you'd be willing to share with the audience?
The first thing I learned in my career that I think was super big for me is I don't know everything, and that's okay. I had to be okay realizing that I was not going to know everything about everything. For me personally, before I got into technology, I could pretty much learn everything about everything I did. I would put my head to it. I would make myself learn as much as I could, so that I would never be able to never be able to not answer a question. For me, that was always a fear. When I got into this industry and when I really started being successful was when I started admitting to people, you know what, I don't really know the answer to that question, but let me get it for you. Let me get back to you. It's okay to not know the answer, because what I learned was, as soon as I gave them an answer that wasn't real and that I kind of made up on the fly, even if it wasn't a lie, I just kind of made up from a little bit of information I knew, it always got me in a bad spot because I didn't know enough about it. So what I learned is it's okay not to know everything. I'd say that'd be the first thing. The second thing is stop selling, start helping. Stop trying to sell your clients, start trying to help your prospects, right? When you're trying to sell, you're focused on you, you're focused on getting what you want. When you change that focus to helping your clients, they notice it, they can see it, they can tell, right? Am I still trying to close a deal? Of course I am. But my primary goal is to help them. Even if that means they don't work with me, if I help them, it's always going to come back to me. At least that's what I believe. So again, the first one I would say is it's okay not to know, admit it. And secondly, stop selling and start helping. Because I think as soon as you do that, one, it changes your mental shift, which in my opinion puts you in a better mental perspective to go into meetings and prospect meetings and calls and all those types of things. But secondly, prospects can see it. They can tell when you're looking to make a quick buck and when you're actually out there to help them. So those would be the two main things that I would say. And like the second one to me is just crucial. If you're still trying to sell in today's world, you're going to struggle, in my opinion. I know quite a few people in the MSP space that are really successful doing what I do, and I unfortunately know a lot more that aren't. And the ones that are successful are helping, not selling.
Definitely. I think sales professionals are definitely a commodity to come by, right? They're very hot commodity. And that's because there's not a lot of them. And it's two great points, man. I just wanted to kind of add on to that second point in terms of, helping before selling, right? Because I've always had the philosophy of in business and in life in general, if you give and if you give and you give, something's going to come back to you, right? And you shouldn't always expect when you give that something is going to come back to you. But the chances are, I like to think you reap what you sow. When you do good and when you actually do good onto people and you're trying to actually see if you can help somebody and not just push a service onto them, people feel that. They feel the genuineness as well.
Yes.
And so yeah, I think it's all about, like you said, putting your clients first, making sure that you can actually help them instead of just pushing a service onto them. And great point, man. You did an awesome job. I'm happy you kind of came on and got to share your story, what you guys are doing over at Expert Text. I want to include some links in the description for for the audience if they want to come either talk to you about your company or if they maybe want to follow you on some of your social media platforms. What are the best ways to kind of get a hold of you and then also to contact your company?
Yeah, I mean, if you go on our website, all over the site, you'll see a book a discovery call, which basically comes directly to me. So if you have any questions or want to connect with me, that'd probably be the easiest way. Experttext.com, Experteks, experttext.com. Just click a discovery link and that'll come directly to me. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Expert Text has our own company page. I have my own page as well, Gene Mobley. So you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Pretty much those two places would be the best places, directly through the website or on our LinkedIn. You can hit me up on there as well.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I'll put both of those into the description. Thank you again, man. And if you guys did stick around all the way to the end, we really do appreciate it. Make sure to share with your friends and like, comment, and subscribe. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care. Ciao.
Thanks, everybody.